New song is the best, right? That's amazing.
Everybody's always bobbing
Well,
their heads when we come in.
Can't help
just
but
moving
wiggle a
and
little bit
all
to it, It's just good.
and all looking so freaking white, just like terrible rhythm, just trying to do our best with fun, keeping up with the beat. You know what I'm saying? Oh man! Well, welcome to Ops Experts Club. Great to see everybody. I'm grateful to have everyone. If you're wondering where I'm at, I'm in Montana, which is told by the cowboy riding the fish behind
Cowboy on
me.
the
Like
fish.
we're at my favorite spot. Also told by my internet looking so awesome with my pixelated graphic today. So just so you know, Montana is an incredible place, but the internet is not the best. So
I can't
grateful to be with
imagine.
everybody. Yes, Ben, Savannah, how are you guys doing this morning?
Doing great.
I haven't had
Yeah.
coffee yet, which is my
Ooh.
my mistake. So there's that. But aside from that, great.
Well, I can appreciate the honesty. I haven't had coffee yet either, Savannah. So we're just gonna have to let Ben carry us today. I think is how it's gonna go.
I don't know how you do it.
It was
Shoot,
an
don't.
accident. It was
Yeah,
not on purpose.
mine's literally. I don't know if you can see it, but mine's probably sitting right there on the counter behind me. Yeah, right over this way. I just haven't heated it up yet, Ben, because I do microwave coffee, even though we have Coffee Experts Club. Okay, so today, enough nonsense. We have somebody that I would say, obviously we love everybody we work with. Anybody watching right now, don't get hurt feelings if you're like, where do we fit in the scale? But this lady is probably one of our very most favorite people ever to work with in all the history of the Collab team. Super legendary, amazing woman, director of operations for Pedro Adeo when we first intersected with her as the Collab team. And I'll tell you what, this lady is such a powerful leader, not because she's so super smart, but also because I feel like she's kind as the day is long. But man, like buck stops here like nobody's business too. She has a great art of being super kind, but also no nonsense, which I feel like is it's an art. That's a tricky thing, especially for ladies to wield, because a lot of people are like, man, she's bitchy, but like that never has Shelly ever come off bitchy. Like it's just no, no, no. It's just all business when it needs to be all business, and kind as the day is long every other time. So anyway, with no further ado, let's welcome in Shelly Khalil. Love her. Yes. There she is.
Thank you. That
Oh
was so
man.
oh.
Yeah. We miss you. And so obviously, Shell, like we've got to work together for a long time. All kinds of crazy circumstances. I feel like when we started with Pedro Adeo, you were trapped underneath the boulder of a landslide coming down the hill, and you're just like, "Dear God, somebody help jump in!" And so I think that you were doing awesome, but obviously Pedro was growing so crazy, and you guys were just trying to keep up. So I was so honored to be able to come in that season and get to work with you so closely. And then obviously
Yeah.
the organization has grown and grown and grown. And then you've had two beautiful baby boys, which I think has kind of removed you out of being so front and center. But
Yep.
nonetheless, such a legend. And not only, and I would love to talk about it. And Shelly, I'm going to kick it over to you to let you talk about things. But I would love to
Yeah.
hear too about Rami, your husband, and his partnership with Pedro, and just the power of doing business together, not just something that's uniquely only Pedro's or running, operations there. But I know you've helped with a lot of operations with Rami on his side of the financial business too with Fortress. So anyway,
Yeah.
love having you. Thanks for coming with us today.
Oh, wow, guys. Thank you so much for having me. It's like such an honor. You guys are some of my favorite people. And I mean, what a way to get back into the swing of things after taking so much time off than to be here with you guys. I'm like, wow, this is awesome. I could do this all day long. But thank you, Aaron. You know how much you mean to me and the whole Collab team. Just you guys have such a special place in my heart. So I'm so stoked to be here with you guys. But yeah, I mean, a little bit of background. Like when we first met, Aaron, I think it was mid 2019, right? Something
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that. And I was probably at my lowest point in my career at that time. I was like completely drowning. I got thrown into this craziness of Pedro Dale 100X launching and not knowing what the heck we were doing. I mean, like a quick background, like I came into Pedro's world just being his office admin. Like I call it my first big girl job because before that I was a waitress. So I was like so excited to have like a Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, like weekends off, like a total like normal job. And then I did that for about 3 years, which was awesome. We launched a huge financial business. Pedro, almost in anything he does, he just is incredible. So we built a huge financial practice. I was his, right hand woman there, doing client servicing, paperwork, all the fun stuff that comes with running a financial firm, and also running those events, the marketing events that we would do, hosting dinner seminars, like the old school mailers, getting dropped, and then inviting everybody to a fancy steak dinner. So that was me. Like I would put on the whole thing, and Pedro would show up to his presentation, and then I'd be booking appointments on the calendar, and people would be coming into the office to become clients. So that was kind of how we started. And then I always joke because I remember it so vividly when he found like the Gary V's, and like all of a sudden he wants to like start vlogging, and then like he's doing like these click funnel things, and then he started running ads for our financial business, which was awesome. And the next thing you know, he's like, I have a passion project, and I'm going to do this thing. It's called Kingdom Entrepreneurship, but like, it's just my side thing. Like, you don't worry about it. You focus on the financial business because we need that. This is just like on the side. So I was like, cool. So that was like May of 2018. I go on my honeymoon, like in June, and he goes to Portugal, and he did like the first 100x masterclass. I come back, and he's like, okay, we're having an event. It's gonna be like 300 people at the church. We have to do it. People from all over the world. These people are amazing. Like, we have to do this. I was like, whoa, like, what are you talking about? This passion project just took over your whole life. And so, literally, from there, it has been such a whirlwind. I mean, I think by the time I walked out, it was probably like 8 conferences, I think, 7 or 8 events, like big events, and then all these little smaller events in between. And it was definitely something that I never in my life envisioned myself doing, because this just felt so much bigger than me. And I was like, it's just little me. Like, I'm just an office manager. Like, I don't do these kind of like big events and big productions and like run these companies like this and do operations at this level. Like, I don't have a degree. I didn't go to college for this. I don't have any like a formal training or anything like that. So I think it was just so crazy how all that kind of happened. But with that, like, it was a lot of pressure, right? You have a visionary like Pedro that is running a million miles an hour, and you're like desperately trying to keep up. And everything else kind of started feeling very shaky and very like just not healthy for me. And so when I met Aaron in 2019, I was like, I need you. Like, I'm literally like, I don't think I could do this anymore. Like, I'm pretty sure I handed Pedro a resignation letter once or twice. He never let me quit. But that's just he's like, no, you can take this back. We'll figure it out. I'm like, okay. And so with having my husband, Rami, me and Pedro are business partners in our financial planning firm. And so there was always that little fun dynamic that, we had Rami and Pedro, amazing relationship, business relationship, and then Pedro and I have our own relationship, and we're super close. And so it's really truly our big family. Like, we've been able to really be under the wing of Pedro and Suzette, and it's just been an incredible journey from that. So yeah, it was wild. 2019, Collab Team came on and saved me literally in so many ways. And yeah, it was a lot, but I don't think I could have done it without you guys at all. So,
I mean, obviously, yeah, Ben. Like, let's kick it over to Ben and Savannah, because I think that Ben and Savannah, you came next iteration. You know what I mean? But like, first out of the gates, I met Shelly, and that was almost the same window of time right there when I met you. Shell was you had just come out of your first event. We're teeing up the second event, and you were like, dear God, like, what are we doing? Like, it was just so crazy. And you and Holly and Liz, I think, were the three on the deck, and you guys just like rowing with everything. And Mason, right? Poor Mason had gotten pulled into it, you know what I mean? Of like just trying to juggle everything. But you guys were doing the world with such a lean team. And I remember coming in and I drove down to Vacaville and got to meet with you. Remember, there was that first meeting, and we had our first kind of like daily planning session, quarterly planning.
Yep.
And coming out of it, I'm like, oh my gosh. So I threw like 8 players onto the field. Like, I threw like 8 of Collab Team onto the field just to help you keep up, because man, I get it. Like, and I think that that's one of the coolest things for me, though, your story. And I would love to dig into that more and let Ben and Savannah lean into it because Ben's really helped with a lot of operation stuff for you, a lot of behind the scenes stuff for you, helping with a lot of finance things for you, has been on site running events with you. Savannah has run the virtual side for you, has done a lot with your Zendesk rollout, your customer experience, run the whole virtual end of events for you. So I feel like this is a pretty intimate team when it comes
Oh,
to
yeah.
how closely we've worked together and how well Collab Team is integrated within the culture of someplace else. And like you said with Pedro, he never lets you quit. So it's like usually our terms are like 6 to 12 months. So it's like we're 3 years in, and I'm like, bro, we got to back this thing down. You're taking all the bandwidth out of Collab Team, you know. So I think that there's some fun stuff to be said here. But I will say what I love most about the space that we're in right here is that, you know, and Savannah I've talked about this a lot, and we've talked to a lot of guests about it, is come into the mindset of realizing, no, nobody goes to school for this. Like what we're doing right now, this is a little bit of the Wild West. Like nobody's
It'll
been formally trained to do these things, you know? So then it really comes back to the innate wiring of a person and how well do they own things and how fast can you pick up the curve, you know? And so I think that anyway, I just would love for us to round robin that a little bit because Shelly, you are we all of us reference Shelly as the queen. Shelly's the queen, and so we would love to have more conversation around that. So Ben, Savannah, I don't know if you want to jump into that anywhere.
Yeah, I'm curious. I mean, obviously, because I mean, I wasn't there when you first started with Pedro, and I wasn't there when Collab first came on. I'm curious, like, because it was so fast, like on the ground, learning as you go. Like, what was the toughest thing to try and like, I don't know, like hammer down, like get control of as you're learning so fast? Was it, tech side? Was it customer service? Like, what was the one where you're like, I can't do this?
Yeah, man. We were like literally, I think that's like, I think back, I don't know if it's like a coping mechanism, but I feel like I've just put it so far back in my memory because it was really traumatic things that happened. You're just like, how did we actually, and, like, we joke, like Holly and I joke all the time. We're like, no, we don't talk about that. We don't say that word. And so, like, just to put it into perspective, right? Like, first event, I remember, right, we're like taking forms in the back, right? Taking payments by hand. Um, I mean, I think our first 2018 Backville conference, we probably had close to 300 plus people. Okay, so it was like at that time, Holly wasn't here with us. It was just me and Megan who were running the financial firm, and then we brought like I think our bookkeeper, okay, and she helped us. And then I don't even know, like maybe like a couple volunteers from like the 100X community, and that was it. And so we were so like did not know what the heck we were doing. I remember taking these. I mean, so many people signed up. It was a very successful event. So I literally had this pile of paperwork of people that signed up, and I went into Excel because that's all I knew to do. Like we had no system, no CRM. Like Pedro would
Right.
not move away from ClickFunnels, and back then ClickFunnels was not a CRM. And so like I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna make a spreadsheet. So I literally sat there all night and putting manually all the people's information and all the, and then I was like, wait, this people are like on payment plans, and like I have to charge their card again next month. Like, oh, I need like they have their information on here. Like I have to save this, and like how do I do it securely? Like I had no idea. None.
Yeah.
Like I did work for obviously like we have our financial firm and there's very like specific procedures that you take. I mean, you're dealing with people's like retirement plans and 401ks. Like it's very serious. So it's very like secure. Like you're working with the platforms that the insurance companies provide. You're dealing, you know what I mean? So it was very different that you're just like, oh, here you go. Here's like this. And so it's like this overwhelming feeling like, oh my God, like what did we just do? And then it didn't stop there. Like I'm pretty sure that November and December, we had meetups, which were more like mini events. We had one in January, and then the Dallas conference came in March. And so it was like back to back. And I was just like, this is not working. Like, I'm sure the amount of people who fell through the cracks, like we lost customers. And then on top of that, like I was dealing with customer service. Like it was phone calls to my office and emails and DMs on Facebook nonstop. Like nonstop. Like, how do I do this? And how, like, it was such a mess, like a true shit show. And it was like, this can't be normal, you know? And I think with all that stress and all that chaos, I think in that moment at the 100X conference, I'll never forget, it was like the last day. I was like, what did I just do? Like I couldn't even function. I don't think I slept. Like it was just the worst of the worst. But in that moment, God was really showed me like the amount of people coming up to me saying, "Oh my gosh, like this has changed my life. Oh my gosh,
Right.
my marriage is healed. Oh my gosh, I'm healed. I had so much breakthrough. I cannot believe this. I finally found my family. I finally found my people. Like, thank you." Like with this gratitude, and you're just like, "Oh, this is bigger than me. Like this is way more
Yeah.
than just Holy Khalil. Like this is really such a huge movement of God, and like the where this is going to reach is just so much bigger than you." Then you're like, "Okay, I get it." Like that's why
Yeah.
it's not easy, right? Because
Yeah.
anything worth doing is not going to be easy. It's going to be hell, right? And it's going to be the hardest thing you've ever done. And it really was. And
Yeah.
I mean, out of tears, true blood, sweat, and tears, right? Like, and so to get to that point and realize that, like, wow, this is so incredible. And these people need this, right? Like, these people need this breakthrough. They need to have these events to come to and feel like they're loved, like they're wanted, and like they're
Mm.
valued. And that's what I think we did really well. You guys know, right? Not just like, yes, we have the technical stuff and like all the op stuff is so important, but I think the feeling and the environment that we create for people with the kindness and the hospitality, it's just, you just can't get it anywhere else. And I think that we embedded that within Collab team and our team. And so I think it just naturally flowed so well because you guys have all of the same kind of values that we did with that. So yeah, so good.
I love it. Yeah, so powerful. Yeah, Savan, maybe jump in there, and because I know like woman to woman, like women in the workplace, women in the business place, like women in especially a position of authority. And I know Savannah, you do such a great job as a woman, as a mom, juggling all the things. Does anything come to mind for you for Shelly? Because I know you and Shelly got to work pretty closely on a couple of the things as far as hip to hip on a lot of those events.
Yeah, so actually, when I very first started with Collab, it was spring of 2020, and you guys, Pedro Adeo's company had just launched Zendesk, and so that was really actually my intro to Zendesk. Like I had like interacted in Zendesk, and I think I'd used it like a little bit, but not like actively answering tickets. And I think my favorite thing is like you. I'm gonna get emotional. Sorry. Um, like learning the importance of serving your people with your heart, but also those like hard boundaries. Like you do that so well, and I learned so much of that from you. And I remember it was like a thing that a customer would get real nasty about something, and it was like, okay, like we got to escalate this to Shelly. And like the phrase that I remember, because we had Jamie in there with us too, and so you, me, and Jamie, it'd be like hashtag kindness thug, because you would be like kind, but you would bring that hammer down. And like
Yeah.
it was like, no, we're not messing around with that anymore. Like, no. And so like you ride that line of leading with your heart, but also having such strong boundaries. Also, like I don't think I've ever seen anybody be able to stop Pedro in his tracks with going a little crazy with something like you can. Like you are like the official like pump the brakes. Like no one can rein in Pedro Adeo like Shelly Khalil can. And like it's my favorite to get to watch you work that way and just being like, oh, Shelly's coming in. Like Shelly's gonna take care of it. And just knowing that it's handled, like yeah, like I feel like you helped train me so much in the way that I deal with customers when I'm training people on how to deal with customers, and even with dealing with clients, just because I feel like your boundaries are so strong, and that's such a healthy thing that I'm sure you learned from those traumatic events and that traumatic just growth. But you are so strong in the way that you hold true to like hold on, like we got to stop, we got to reevaluate this, that's not going to work. And I love that about working with you.
Oh,
Hold
thank you.
on, that's not
Oh,
going to work. I love it. So good. That's such a good summary, Savan. So true.
oh my gosh. No, that was such a like, and again, like I was not that person before Collab Team, right? I was very much like, yes, I always like stood my ground with Pedro, but like that was more because I think he and I are very similar in a lot of ways and our personalities, which we butt heads a lot, right? So we're but it's out of love and out of like, I truly actually care about you. Not, I'm not here to gain anything from you. Like, you know what I mean? And
Right.
so I think
Yeah.
it, when I came to that point of like, no, this is bigger than me. And then Aaron just completely just was able to come in and give me the confidence to be like, no, 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 Shell, you can actually do this. Like this, you're doing it. You're badass. Like, and I remember you saying that to me all the time, like, you're badass. Like, and I would tell myself like, you're badass. You could do this, like in the mirror every morning, like you can do this, you know? And it's so crazy because I totally remember those days of just feeling like, no, we have to be firm but kind, right? Like, and I feel like psychologically too, people receive things so much better when you are kind. And it's, there's no, I don't think it takes any more effort. You know what I mean? And I think just implementing that, and I think you guys did it so well because it, again, it's our culture, like it's who we are as people, and how you're treating your customers, how you would treat your kid or your sibling or your parent. Like I have to put
Yeah.
firm boundaries with my, especially now as a mom. Like the boundaries I've had to put up, I was like, whoa, I was not expecting this. But again, I had to be very kind but firm, right?
Yeah.
Kind with my mom, my mother-in-law, like all the people that want to just give you their input and give you their, I'm like, well, like take it easy. I got this. But thank you. I love you. And so I think it's like the way you live and who you are as a person, you become that as, and then it just, I think it just kind of naturally flows out of you, you know? Um, but kindness, that we need to bring that back. Kind.
Kind
I
but
Yeah.
know.
firm.
Kindness,
For
kindness
Kindness
stuff.
thug. I think about it
Hashtag.
all the time. Like basically every
we
time
need
that
to
I
bring
have to like get firm with a customer or something, I think like kindness thug.
yes.
Or with my kids.
Yes.
Was it
And
difficult, Shell? Like
honestly,
with Pedro,
go
was
ahead.
it difficult, or just in the workplace in general, to like start building up those boundaries, or was it like one day you're like, oh no, this is how it has to be,
Oh
or
no, there was very many like tears and venting to Rom, you know, when I would come home and just be like, I don't know how to get, sometimes I just didn't know how to get through to him, you know, and like in my heart, like knowing also the balance because he is my mentor. He is like a father to me too. Like he teaches me a lot. And I had to learn the balance of like when to let him, you know, kind of be, it's our thing. Like I'm right, you're wrong, like kind of thing. Like we always like to be right. It's like always about like, no, I'm right. Like it doesn't even matter what it is. Like it didn't have to be about workplace. It could have been like, the pizza we ordered last week was a deep dish. Like, no, it wasn't. It was flatbread. Yes, it was. And like, I had to pull up the receipt. I ordered it right here. Like, it's so silly, but like, that's just how we are, you know? And I think the hardest part was knowing Pedro's full background, right? So, like, we met Pedro back in like beginning of 2012, and he was really still coming out and really still like in a really dark place, in a really hard place and season in his life. And so I think when you meet somebody in that place, you have a different like perspective of them, right? And so seeing him coming out of that and through the trenches and like flourishing again, you're very protective of that growth, and you're very protective of this beautiful thing that just reincarnated, right? And like came back to life
Right.
after such craziness, and you're very protective of that. And that's how I am with Pedro and with Suzanne. I'm very protective of the outside because it's nasty out there. Unfortunately, we live in a world where it's very cutthroat business, very cutthroat. I mean, you guys know and you've seen like people bite your stuff
Yeah.
and go run off. And like you're,
Mhm.
I think because I was so protective of him and that was always my heart. And I think he really understood that and knew that. He knew when I was coming in hot and I was like, no, bro, like you can't do that. Like we have to stick to this, this, and this, or like voicing my opinions. And he's incredible and allowed that for me. And like finally understood, like, no, she really truly has my best interest at heart. And once we got to that place and that understanding of like, no, I'm doing this because I love you. Like I truly love you. And I don't want to see you go through anything bad or any, you know, any pain or any struggle again. Like I got to watch your back because he's a visionary. And so he gets excited. And so he's going a million miles an hour without looking at the fine details that could be kind of catastrophic for him, you know, if he's not careful. So, yeah.
Love that.
I think that's a really good point, Shell, as far as because I think that sometimes there can be this friction between visionary and like an integrator, an operator, in that like visionary is all gas all the time, like running hard, 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 hard. And operations is the one a lot of times that has to like pick up, like we're in the wake, right? Like they're out there breaking the waves as the visionary. And then we're in the wake of having to be like, wait, what did he just promise? Wait, where does he say he's going to be? And I remember, Shelly, there was a whole season where you're like, no more time. You can't commit any more time. You're out of time. Like that's not going to work anymore, but I think that it's that push and pull and that mutual respect. And I loved the way that you really leaned into that about you had earned that place of respect with Pedro because there was such a fervent love for he and Suzette and for the mission that they had. Pedro Adeo is such a powerful story because he did come from a place of absolute like bankruptcy, and he's very transparent and vulnerable about how low he was in his life and losing everything and losing homes and just like coming like even desires of not wanting to live, and coming up and out of that like a true phoenix story of coming up and out of the ashes and rising so quickly and doing these crazy challenges was the biggest names, Dean and Tony, like these biggest names on the internet coming out of nowhere. And I remember that season of you and I working together with Pedro in operations. And when you're coming up out of nowhere, people are like, who is this guy? Wait a minute. Where's this guy coming from? Like nobody had ever heard of him. Nobody had ever seen him. He didn't come up through the normal channels, and I think that was the most powerful about being in it with Pedro in that season, but also the need for somebody to be able to like be a little bit of a guard, what I mean? Like let's watch over it. Let's watch over it because he's so excited about all the new and all the new success and all the new opportunities. And obviously, huge kudos to him for his mind and how God has given him the ability to do the things that he does, but also somebody that's watching the back door too. You know what I mean? Like, okay, so he's out in front running hard. Somebody needs to make sure we watch the back door too. And I think that you did that so well. And Savannah, I think you worked really well with Shelly in that of, okay, wait a minute, what did we promise? And how does that collateralize with the other things that we promised? And wait a minute, didn't we promise that somewhere else downstream? And I remember that whole spreadsheet that you created, Savannah, where you were like, wait a minute, if this means this here, and then this, how's this work over here? And then wait a minute, because you're having to answer people's questions when they come and ask you about what they're getting. So I think you guys both are just such a great example as ladies of like the balance of visionary energy, but also matching that with an equal fervor from an operations perspective and holding them accountable. The tension, it's a good one.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think everything that like the Collab team was able to create and do and kind of just like come together with me. And like I would literally come to you, Aaron, like I'm desperate. Like, how did we do this? How do we solve this problem? And you're like, okay, no problem. Like Taryn can build this, Ben can do that, Savannah's got this. And like we just build this little like fortress of our our little operation system that able to then skyrocket ultimately the business and sales. Like that was the end game ultimately. Like we loved Pedro hard. We were down for the movement. We were down for the cause. We were down for the people. And we're just like, no, we have to figure this out. And we were able to come together and do that. And I couldn't have done that by myself. Like, there's no way. Like, having Collab team by my side and being like, again, giving me the confidence to be like, no, we can do this together, was just life changing. And I think it's the company where it stands now is the proof, like I don't think I know for a fact because the words have come out of Pedro's mouth. Like there'd be no 100X without Shelly Khalil. There'd be no 100X without Collab team. You know what I mean? And so there's this powerhouse that you build together, having people that can bring different strategies and different skills and different assets to the companies and be able to really get to the next level. Like we could have done okay. Like I'm sure we could have figured it out and like been mediocre, but like we wouldn't have been excellent. We wouldn't have been multi comma to comma club X status. That was for sure.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
so good.
I love it. Well, Shelly, I think I feel like we could talk for hours. Like there's certain people you have on, you're like, we could go for another hour, but it's a half-hour show. And so anyway, I just want to say, Shelly, especially because I feel like we haven't got to get as much connection since you've had the boys, which are so beautiful. And I keep seeing your pictures pop up and just, man, I know that in and of itself was such a journey. And man, just proving how much of a warrior you are and how much of a warrior Rami is and the power couple that you guys form. But especially because we haven't got to talk in as much time because you've been in mom mode. But I just want you to know from the bottom of our hearts, Collab Team loves Shelly, Khalil, and we're just so grateful and so honored and so privileged to be able to work alongside you for the years that we have, and are so excited about future days and future things that you guys are dreaming of. Every time I talk to Rami, it's something that he's got in his brain, some new thing that he's excited about. And I think that, so you're married to one and you're linked up with one in Pedro. So you definitely need to be extra good about watching your boundaries and make sure you don't get pulled too many different directions. But thank
Oh,
you so much for joining us today on Ops Experts Club. We loved having you.
you're so welcome. Thank you for having me. It's such an honor to just spend time with you guys, see you guys again, and just, I mean, the love I have for you guys is, I'm not gonna get emotional, Savannah. You got emotional. And I've told you so many times, my life would not be what it is right now if I didn't have you guys in my life. So I just appreciate you guys so much, and my career couldn't have gone the way it did without you guys. So I'm so appreciative and grateful for all of you. Taryn is not on here, just everybody that's been able to come alongside us and get us to where we are. And again, future things that we're cooking up and dreaming of, I could not even fathom doing without you guys. So I'm excited for that too.
Awesome. All righty, lady. Well, thank you everybody for tuning in for Ops Expert Club. It was a great session. The amazing Shelly Khalil, Queen Bee. We love her. We'll see you guys next week on Ops Expert Club.
Bye, Shelly.
Bye.